This is the Blackout podcast.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. Today I'm with Jon. Jon is a father, a husband, a crazy man that cycles in the winter. And he actually works in the hospital. He does a few other things too. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Jon.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Just looking forward to having a chat with you, and I've listened to your other podcasts. So, I've been born and raised in Halifax, so I've been a Halifax boy my whole life.
Yeah.
I just started cycling 2.5 years ago.
Yes, crazy.
So I needed a change. So I was a heavy smoker. Needed to kind of change things up. You know, when you get to a point where you're out of breath going upstairs and you can't run around with your kids anymore, you realize real quick that, things need to change. So I picked up a bicycle and started biking, a little bit here and there, and then realized that I really liked it. It was like, when you were a kid and you had that freedom of being on a bike, I kind of got that again. Okay. And that was it. I started to bike to work a couple days a week, and then after that I started to bike to work every day, and then you start to go a little bit further, and then you start to you get into other things, and you see another bike, and you're like, ooh, that's nice, right? It's a sickness. It's like, you look at it, it's just like, oh, I like that one as well. Now I have 4 bikes sitting at my house, and that's what got me started in all this. And then you start to push yourself, and you start to look at distances. The first big one I did was from Halifax to Hubbard's and back. Okay. And you realize that you can do it. It's more tough than it is physically. So you want to start to, tap out, you're just like, why am I doing this? Like, why, and then you're in the middle of nowheres and you're like, I can't stop, so you just keep on going. And then, last year I did 200. And then this year I did a 250. Yeah,
I know. I saw that post on Instagram thinking, I think it's like going to Truro and back to Halifax. And then you have some 40, 60 kilometers to spare. Even driving, it's crazy. So just doing that on a bike, I can't even imagine it.
Yeah, it gets euphoric after a while. So you start out and you start going, and then mentally you're just going. There's no if you can do 200, you can do 400. It's physically there's no difference, right? But
that's 200 more.
It is. Yeah, it is. No, but it's but mentally is the biggest challenge, and for me, I use it to I use it to just zone out, like you said, I work at the hospital. We are an extremely busy spot. Me and my teams do a lot of clinical application support. So all the check-in and the registration systems. Previous to that, I used to work at a pharmaceutical company. Okay. We did patient support programs. You are constantly involved with helping people. Yeah. Whether that is, and being a leader within those organizations, you're helping your staff, you're helping those people, you're helping, folks. Yeah. It can run hard on your head sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. So hence why, you need to find something for your own mental health to do, right? So this was my to-do to help clear my head.
So you said you have 4 different bikes. Do they are they used at different times, or is there any specific difference between the 4 bikes?
Yeah. So one of them is kind of just just I'll hop around with the kids. Got a mountain bike. We do cyclocross. So cyclocross racing is it's like a drop-handled road bike, except we go off-road with it. We race with those ones. Wow. I have my regular road bike, so and that's the one I kind of back and forth every day with.
I gotta ask you. I've noticed these bikes with huge tires. Is there any reason for those type of bikes?
The fat bikes. Yeah. So that is great for all the different winter and those type of activities, right? So you can just roll over snow, right?
Okay.
So all the crazy people that like to go cycle in the winter, that's.
So you have one of those? Then,
not yet. No. I'll add one.
But you cycle in the winter though?
I do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's a skinny tired bike with studded tires.
Oh, yeah. Because I was wondering, do you ever have issues with ice?
Sure. Yeah, it's studded tires, but you have to take your time, and the looks you get, right, is let's face it, cyclists aren't the most liked creatures on the planet, right? They, people will blast their horns and give you the finger just because,
I think those are just assholes, really. I mean, I don't personally. I just think if someone is on a bike, he's already dealing with a lot. So maybe just let the person handle the thing. The only thing I might have an issue with is just if a biker is being reckless, then that might be an issue. But if the person is just on their lane and not disturbing you, then just don't be a dick.
Oh yeah, and believe me, there are dicks on both sides of the fence, right? So it is, you get assholes on both sides of the fence. So I mean, it's because you'll get people that are in and out of traffic on a bike, and they'll cut people off, and they make a bad name for cyclists, right? But then on the other side, you'll get people who are driving who just hate cyclists for no reason whatsoever, and they'll just blast the horn.
Yeah, they don't. The one I guess to me is like, you're by bicycle lane and you don't look before you turn.
Right.
Just don't do that.
No, it's I mean, I get called a new name every day, right? Like, you're right, and it is at this point, I used to get mad at it, right? And and try to shout back, and now I just wave.
So the 250 Ks, where did you cycle to?
So I started home in Halifax by the Rotary, and I went out to Mahone Bay. Straight out to Mahone Bay, hung out there for a little bit, had a bite to eat, and then came back through Halifax, and then there's the Aspedogan Loop, which is on the old highway, so I added that in. 250 kilometers. I was shooting for 300.
Okay.
But I couldn't. I got closer to Halifax, and as you start getting closer to home, you want it to be done, right? Everything's hurting, right? Like, your ass hurts, your back hurts, your wrists hurt, right?
Is there any reason, an advantage to those bikes where you kind of lean over and then ones where you just sit up?
Yeah, for sure. So like your traditional drop bar, your road bikes offer your ability to kind of, change your position up on a regular basis, right? So I can hunker down, or I can push myself up a bit. When you're on those really long rides, you have to move around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or else you start to.
And then, so my wife, she does this cycling thing. She has these shoes where you wear them and they just kind of sit on the bikes. I don't understand those ones work. So it's like super hard plastics, and then they just get into the thing where you cycle into the pedals.
Oh yeah.
What's the advantage of having those ones?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't see it, but I guess for some people it's just comfort, right?
Oh, okay.
So you have to do what's comfortable for you on it. So and if you get into long distance cycling, you have to find something that's comfortable. This September, we're gonna do 300 in one day, and we're gonna do the Cabot Trail. So
okay,
yeah.
So do you take pictures when you do this site?
Oh yeah,
because the views, man.
That's right. It's you have to stop. Like when you're doing these type of distances, you have to stop you want to stop because some of the things that you see you won't see from a regular vehicle, right? Because you're flying past on the highway, and so you got to take it in, right? So this year will be the Cabot Trail in a day, right? Which will be 300 kilometers.
How many of you are doing it?
I don't know yet.
Is it the rodents?
Yeah, that's right. The rodents. So yeah, it's so it was last year. One of the guys who puts on a lot of the races with Bicycle Nova Scotia, and puts on a lot of the races throughout the province, wanted to put together a new team. I do competitive cycling, so on top of the long distance stuff, we race all summer. Okay. And this year we are, no exception. We are also racing this year for, the team name is the Rodents. Yeah. And
I didn't want to call it Rodents. I was like, Road Ends.
Yeah. No, and so we have a group of guys from all over. One of the guys, he's a doctor. Okay. We have another one who does graphic design, right? So it's all guys who are mainly, except for the exception of two of them, in their 40s. Wow. Right. And I'll be 39 this year, right? And it's you start to run into these folks who get at this kind of age of wanting to do this type of stuff. There was a movie, it was called Mammals. Okay. Yeah, so middle-aged men in lycra. All right. And it's about dudes who start to get to this age and they want to start getting fit, right? You see you look in the mirror and like, poof.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, what happened here, right? Like, that's right. Well, it happens, right? Yeah. And anyways, yeah. So you start to see these dudes, and some of them take it so seriously, right? There was a case in Florida. This guy was a Category 5 racer. Okay, so bottom of so you have 1 through to 5 in the U.S., right? Okay. So how does is one the highest? One's the highest, 5's the lowest, right? And anyways, this guy, anytime you enter any type of competitive cycling, you are signing off that you're not doping, you're not taking performance enhancing drugs. Yeah. And this guy who he's not getting sponsored. Okay, he's not getting any paychecks. He was doping, right? He had right. So he had like 7 or 8 different steroids and all this just for cycling, just to keep up with the gang, right? Wow. Yeah, and it's the sport's riddled with it, right? It's unfortunately.
Talking of that, it's kind of it takes me back to the guy Lance.
Oh yeah, Lance Armstrong. Yeah.
I watched his documentary and the levels they went to hide this doping thing was just, I don't know. Yeah. It's almost. It got me thinking, would it, if they said, okay, we'll just let everybody take whatever they want to take and then have the playing field level, would that make anybody do any change? Because it's almost like whether everybody knows what the rules are, but they don't care. Yeah,
you're right. It's, I don't know the answer to that one. I don't think it should be, I don't think it should be allowed in any sport, to be honest. Yep. One of the reasons why I race and one of the reasons why I keep competitive is, you try to be a role model for your kids. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I like to see them, that, I'm trying and I'm putting it all out there. And, when you hear these stories, it just takes a blow to the sport, you know?
It makes me wonder. So if I'm training, doing all these races, and then I come, I don't know, 5th or whatever, and then I found out that the 4 people in front of me all use drugs, it's almost like, what am I doing, or why? And it's almost the tests aren't. I don't know. They don't always catch them, I guess that's what always gets to me.
That's right. And you have people, like I said, this guy who's, in his 40s now, just, now he's banned from competitive cycling. Like why? Why would you bother? I just, it blows me away.
So, I guess what was his hope exactly? Like, he's gonna do it and then he's gonna go to like a category 1 and then get sponged. Like, was that his plan, or?
I don't, at this point in age, I know I'm not going to get a paycheck from cycling, right? Now, I do a lot of sponsorships with Giant, with Giant Halifax, and we try to promote the sport of cycling as much as we can, right? There's a lot of benefits to cycling, right? Environmental. Your own health. But, what are you going to get out of it? I don't know, and, sure. I think, you have a competitive spirit, and that's great. But, what these guys are doing to their bodies, it's I will never understand it,
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, what's the cost though? Because you do that for, 3-4 years, and then your health just goes down from then on. So what I really know about steroids, especially, is comes from bodybuilding mostly, and it's kind of sad. I was reading this article, and they just listed. So the article was crazy how it was written. So it was writing like about these people, and then they listed, say, 10 people. They won Mr. World, whatever, all these huge awards. And then the article goes on to say, but of those 10 people, like 7 of them are dead.
Yeah. Yeah. It's why?
Exactly.
Right? Why would you ever do it to yourself?
Yeah.
I don't know. I get it. I understand the professional side of it. There's money involved. There's contracts involved. There's, everyone else is doing it. So you got to try to, figure out ways that you can do it, I guess. But, locally, I just, it blows my mind why anyone ever would do those type of things.
But isn't it even expensive doing that? Like, so that's another expense you add onto all your biking things.
That's right. Like, cycling is an expensive sport alone.
Yeah.
Right? You want the carbon bike, you want the aero this, and cycling. I quit smoking to try to save money. I picked, that is the wrong sport, right? That is the wrong sport if you want to save money.
So, what's an average okay-ish race bike go for?
Sure. I mean, you can get into this, you can get a secondhand good race bike for, $800. Okay. The problem comes along with when you get into it and you start to use it and you're like, ooh, this is nicer. This is faster. The way they roll these things out is, every year they release something just a little better, right? Their marketing is genius. Like, their marketing is really good. And you get, you start with just the regular bike, and then you want something a little bit more, right? Because that other bike is lighter, it's faster, so you'll get that bike, right? But honestly, you can get into this sport. I would say, $700-800, you can get into the sport, right? You can go and you could race, right? You could go even cheaper, right? But you want to make sure that you get something that's of quality, right? You're going to start going fast. You're going to start, riding with other folks. We do beginner rides. Okay. So people who have bought a road bike, okay, but are sometimes too scared to get on the road with it. Yeah. Okay. Or they see groups of people going, but they're too intimidated to do anything about it. Yeah. What we do is we get those people out. Right. So we do bi-weekly rides. We get people out on the road.
Is as part of Rodents or Bicycle Nova Scotia?
So I do this with Giant
Giant
Halifax. yeah, we just get people out on we get them out on the road bikes. We get them into a group, and they start to realize, that, because, pulling up to, you got a brand new bike and pulling up to people you don't know, they're all standing around and in Lycra. They've got calves the size of, right? Like, you're just like, what am I doing? Right. I remember the very first ride I went on, it was with this, Bicycles Plus out in Bedford. Okay. And I showed up and, I was like, what am I doing here? Right. Like, these, everyone looked like an athlete. Yeah. Like everyone looked like they were about this big around, and had, these amazing bikes. They had everything, they were all kitted up. Right. Yeah. Like, and, I'm about 3 or 4 minutes into this. It feels like my heart is about to jump out of my throat into my ears. And I got dropped. Right. Yeah. And that was it. Right. They kept on going and you're by yourself.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. I was just like, this is. So why do people do this?
That's not a good way to start.
No. So it was, I was like, wow. I was like, that's, you got to be honest with yourself. And it's a very humbling thing. Right. Because you think you're doing okay. I'm like, all right, I did 90 kilometers the other day. I'm good. And then you start to ride with people who are way better and way faster. And it's very humbling. Yeah. It is, because you're going, and then next thing you know, you start to fall back a little bit, and the group starts to pull away. And once they start to pull away, it's over.
So with those bikes, right? How many the gear system, how does that work? Is it like, is it one of those bikes that has like 20 whatever number of gears, or?
Yeah, most of the road bikes are what we call like an 11 speed, but it's, the cassettes, the on the rear, those can vary from like like a 25 to a 28 to, to a 32, all depending on, so if you have more gears, you're going to have a broader range of selection, right? So around Halifax, we got a lot of hills, right? So it's, having a nice broader selection, definitely nice for folks, right? And then when you're racing, it's, you're not going to use as many. But yeah, so it really depends, what you want to do with it, how you want to get out, and what are your goals with it, right? Yeah. Is what, if you're out looking for a new bike, right, those are the things you start asking yourself.
Exactly. I was going to ask that. So you say anyone can get in a sport if they're crazy enough. Yeah. If they're crazy enough and have like $800, but say so. What would be the top of the line bike? What would that go for?
Yeah. So
and what would it have?
Yeah. So you're getting into, you can go spend $18,000, $20,000. Yeah. No. Like so you can so locally here, you could go to Cyclist or even Giant Halifax and go throw down 10 grand, 12 grand on a bike. Wow. Like right now, and. Of course, when you get that, now you're getting carbon fiber everything. Okay, carbon fiber wheels, carbon fiber, frames, and then of course you get electronic shifting. Okay, so it's there's no cables anymore, right? So when you go to shift, it's all done wirelessly, right? Oh, wow. Yeah, it's the science and the technology that's gone into it is staggering. They spend hours in wind tunnels now, right? So people are sitting on the bike with these horrible looking crazy looking helmets.
Yeah, I see those things on the TV.
Right? Yeah, that's right. And then and they're doing wind tunnel testing on these, just like an F1 car, just like same deal. But you're going to pay for it. Yeah, it's and sure, there's some guys around here that will have those bikes. I remember very clearly there was a guy at a race last year, and his bike cost as much as my vehicle. Okay, whoa. Right. and we still dropped them. So right, so it is.
So it's not about the bike.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna ask, if you spend that much, what advantage do you have?
Right. It still comes down to whether your legs can turn it. Right? And that's it is. You get into the competitive levels, okay, and sure, they've got a $20,000 bike, but they're also, they're milliseconds away from each other, right? Their performance is so high that it does come down to equipment.
So it's almost like you said, the F1 cars.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It's that much.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's I guess in the Olympics, so all these sport meets, there's this bike competition where literally just people go in the oval. I never understood how that works. Like, so is it two people going in opposite direction, and then the difference? How is the winner determined?
Sure. So the track racing is a different animal, and unfortunately, we don't have a track here, right? It would be amazing to have like what they call a velodrome.
Okay.
And track racing is they have team pursuits. So you've got 4 guys, all from the same team trying to keep each other going. You have the head-to-head races as well, where you have a multitude of folks on the track, and then you have like the one-on-ones, right? So you're just faced against one other person, and then you'll have your time trials as well, just a single person. The speeds these guys get going and sustain, is terrifying. We did a race this past year, so the Rodents put together a race in Haligonian, and there's a racetrack up in Haligonian, so it's a big oval. So it's the closest thing we're going to get to ever racing on it around here.
Think Bicycle Nova Scotia won't bring anything like that here?
A lot of money.
Okay.
Right? It comes down to a lot of cash, and whether the province would want to put in for something like that.
There was a proposal. Someone was suggesting putting like a hockey thing at the oval.
Yeah. I mean, hockey gets a lot of love, right?
Yeah,
hockey gets a lot of love, and that's great. Sport in Nova Scotia, as long as you're doing something, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, hockey gets a lot of love here, right? So cycling, not so much, unfortunately. So
the place in Haligonian was saying.
Yeah, so we were in Haligonian, and it was it's an actual racetrack for stock cars, right? So the ones that go around the circles, and anyways, they let us take our bicycles on it, right? Okay. So it's bank turns, right? Yeah. And
cycling that was weird, right?
What's that?
Like cycling that way is
it's bizarre because you're kind of angled over, and you got to try to find the right spot, and we had 30 plus people in a group, and everyone's just starting to move around a little bit, so and we're averaging 40 kilometers an hour, 50 kilometers an hour on some of these banks, and it was terrifying. So I mean, I can only imagine what the pros are going through, or the Olympians, right, when they're banked together and they've got 50 people all just squished together,
And then for safety, what gear do you use?
Got a helmet. and going down is, I've been fortunate enough, not to hit the deck yet. And, but I've watched multiple people go down. It's not pretty. It is, you have no protection. All right. Other than the helmet on your head. Yeah. So, when you go down, one of the people, it was in Haligonian. We were on the road race part of it, and I watched her just front tire just came out, and that was it. Right.
Ooh.
Yeah. Right in front of us.
Does that just happen, or was something?
It's just I mean, sometimes you get a flat, sometimes you hit a rock the wrong way, you hit a pothole, it is a horrible noise. It is when you hear bodies hit the ground like that. It is not.
I mean, just watching on TV, it's like, oh god.
Oh yeah. It is cringeworthy.
Yeah.
It is. So yeah, I mean, and yeah, all you have on is.
So, does being a cyclist, especially one that competes, take your insurance up?
I probably should. I certainly haven't told them. No.
But so I was wondering. Now, I mean, you have your wife, your kids, you have the job, you have the Rodents, bicycle, Nova Scotia Giants, and how do you balance it all together?
It's my wife is the support structure for this, right? She helps put balance to everything, and she also cycles as well, right? So
okay.
I put the Kool-Aid out there the other year, and
I actually saw a picture of your kid on the bike at home.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just put the Kool-Aid out. Just let him have another drink. It's we balance. We just make it. We make it happen. She knows it's important for me, right? I know that it's important for her to get out and do these type of things, right? It's just you have to find the time to do it, right? You just make it happen. There's days where you're tired and you're beat up and you don't want to do anything. You just want to sit on the couch, but you force yourself to get up and go, right? So she's been she is the orchestrator, right? So when we have a weekend race, right? She makes sure the kids are going here. We're going to do this. So yeah. I rely heavily on her to make sure that we can keep doing the things that we like to do with this, right? So, but it is tough, man, right? There are, because work and then the kids and their activities and and then fitting in to make sure that she has time to go out and do the things she wants to as well. So yeah, it's constant. Yeah. Right. It is a bit of a battle some days. Right. So, but you make it work. Right. You find the time to make it work. Right.
And the award you won, was it your Rodents?
Yeah, so it was the team award. So we got the Team of the Year award, so which was pretty neat. So that was at the Bicycle Nova Scotia Awards, and it was. There's several teams within the groups, right? So yeah, it was it was our first year together. So
wow, what a year!
Yeah, it was a big year. Yeah,
and then before I forget, how did the name come about? Like Rodents of all the names.
So Josue Duff is and his dad are the guys that kind of put all this stuff together. And yeah, he wanted to play on words, right? So we were on the road and and then he seen with a mouse, and I don't know how he put it all together, but he was like, we're going to be called the Rodents. I was like, I was like, the what? Right? And then so anyways, that's so we're on to our next class this year. So last year we raced B class. So here in Nova Scotia it goes A through to D.
Okay. So A is the top?
Yeah, A is the top. Yeah, and this past year we did B, and all of us were within pretty much top 10 with the team. So we're moving up to A this year. So we're going to be up against.
So is the competition going to be nuts? In the A.
Yeah, it's not going to be very pretty. I'm not expecting to do very well this year, right? I mean, I came in 6 overall.
How many people are in the league, or what's it called?
Yeah, so it varies widely, right, from year to year. For B class, there was what did it break down to? It's like 40 or 50 registered right through B, and then A class. A class this year is going to be
a lot of people.
Yeah.
So is there like a process that actually determines what class you're in?
No, I mean you can just if you wanted to tomorrow go start competitive cycling. You could sign up for an A-class race.
Yeah, why would I do that?
Right, right. Like it's you can go ahead and do it. But you really you just kind of you pick the one when you're ready, right? And there's people that are really, really good that are in too low of a class,
Okay.
and it's the groups will kind of be like, come on, it's time to move on up, right? Like, you've come in first for the past 9 years. It's time to give it up, right? Like, it's, but
I'm like, oh yeah. And then you go to the next one and then you don't even get close to
no, it's just like, yeah. So it is, so it really is, a very supportive environment.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to be utilizing a lot of kind of peer-to-peer coaching this year.
Okay.
So local guy here, who runs, it's called Beretta Training. They do a lot of, they're at the Volta, like they do all the programming stuff here. And anyways, he's launching a peer-to-peer, platform, which I'm really looking forward to. So
how will that work?
Well, it's going to use like all of your cycling data through Strava but you're going to have the ability to, say, hey, you know what, you did really good here, or, if you're really frustrated, why don't you try this next time?
Do they have a name for it?
Yeah. So it's Beretta Training. Beretta Training. And, anyways, it's, there's going to be there's a lot of advantages to having someone just saying, hey, you did good, or, you can get really frustrated with this sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You get dropped or you get, you think you're doing really well and you just, maybe you just had an off day.
Okay.
Right.
I'm going to end with this because I know you're crazy enough to cycle year round.
Yeah.
And sometimes to me, when something is tough, I just think it's almost like cycling winter, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to end with this question. How do you keep going when, I shouldn't be doing this right now?
Yeah.
When you're out in the winter?
Yeah, it's, it is, there are days, right? So, we were kind of, we were talking about it earlier, but it was, we got rid of our other car. We're down to one. I work downtown. I'm a cheap person. I hate spending money, especially on parking, right? Like just hurts me.
Parking downtown is crazy.
Oh yeah, it is. And when I started biking to work, I was like, okay, we can do this, right? And then, and then I started to go in the winter. I'm like, okay, it's not so bad. And then you get a -20 day, and it's like, okay, this is a shitty idea. Like this is not good. Yeah. And then it gets so cold that sometimes your bike doesn't shift, right? And I'm like, shit. This is I've hit a new level of stupid, right? Like this is, is that what's wrong with me? Yeah. And then I get into work, right? And people are like, what's wrong with you? Like, I was they're like, why did you bike here? I'm like, yeah. They're like, man, like I warmed up my car for 20 minutes, right? So, it's, I'm stubborn is what it breaks down to. And once I start something, I generally just, I really stick with it. And, but yeah, there are days where it's horrible. It's, you just, the way I look at it, it's only a few minutes, right? It's 20 minutes out of my day. That's all, right? And, if you can get through that, you're good to go, right? Yeah. But yeah, sometimes you look outside and I'm like, this isn't right, but there are days where it is just too bad, right? And you got to hang it up, right? Yeah. So, no, the cold is, as long as you dress properly for it, right? And, a lot of the people, covered up right up to my face, and it's I've got these gloves that look like lobster claws. I mean, I don't. It's not a. you don't look very good, right? Like, you know, there's definitely no sex appeal about it. Right? Like, it's you know, people are like, all right, yeah, have a good ride. I'm like, yeah. You know, it's you know, and you look outside and it's just like, yeah, it's gonna be cold, right? You know, it's the minute you step out, you know, and it's, you know, your nose is frozen. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's get this over with, right? So, yeah, so it is very doable. Yeah, it is very hateful some days. Yeah, but yeah, once you stick with it, once you go with it, you just go.
Thanks for coming in today, Jonathan.
Yes, thank you for having me.
This is the Blackout Podcast. Thanks for listening.